been about 1 month since the Nintendo Switch 2 came out. It looked to continue the success that the original Switch had, with increased capabilities and improved performance across the board. I wanted to make a video summarizing my thoughts 1 month into the Switch 2 experience, to give an idea for those interested to see if the Switch 2 is the right purchase for them. For reference, I primarily play on PC and my PlayStation 5. I have an original Switch that I primarily used as a party game system, with some Nintendo exclusives thrown in. The versatility of the original Switch was unmatched at the time of its release, but with the Steam Deck, ROG Ally, Legion Go, and more handheld systems becoming increasingly common, it makes you ask if the Switch 2 is really worth it. In this video, I want to cover the out-of-box experience, the end-user experience, and showcase some of the games made for the Switch 2, games upgraded for the Switch 2, and some games that are just backwards compatible with the Switch 2. Lastly, I'll talk about some of the online functions the console brings to the table and my final thoughts of the system. Before we jump into anything, I want to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already. I've been working on making mini reviews of different games I've been playing, and any support helps. Leaving a like and adding a comment below helps me know what kind of games or videos you want to see from me in the future. Jumping in, unboxing the system wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It had the system and screen right on top of the package. I mention this because I've heard horror stories of people getting stapled receipts puncturing their system's screen, making it unplayable. Luckily, that didn't happen to me. I purchased the Mario Kart World bundle because I was okay with a digital code copy, so I didn't have to spend the full $80 for a physical copy. Everything was nicely wrapped and it came with some charge already in the battery. The system feels bigger than the original Switch, which is helpful since the original Joy-Con controllers felt a little small in my hands. I was impressed with the magnetic controllers that snap into place on the system itself, or the controller grip that comes with the system. There are paddles on the backside of each controller that helps detach the controller from wherever they are connected to. Despite the controllers having magnetic connections, they do not support Hall thumbsticks, which means I would expect these to have similar stick drift issues later down the road as the original Switch 1 Joy-Cons. At the moment, I don't have any issues with these controllers, but I felt it was important to note that there isn't too much of a change besides the size itself. Turning on the system and starting the data transfer from my original Switch 1 to Switch 2 was easy. It took about 10 minutes of waiting, and then all of my save data and virtual cartridges were available on the system. The UI looks nearly one for one compared with the original Switch. This isn't a bad thing, but it's interesting that the only changes visible were at the eShop and chat menus. Despite the virtual cartridges being available after the system transfer, I still had to re-download the games themselves. I opted for installing Mario Kart World and the Switch 2 upgrade of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild first, as those were the two experiences I was most looking forward to. Virtual cartridges are a controversial topic for some. While I understand the frustration of no longer being able to plop a game physically in and just play it, this is a standard practice for my PC and PlayStation 5, so I wasn't super bothered by it. I can see how it would become problematic if you had multiple systems with multiple people exchanging games between each other, both physically and digitally, but by myself I had no issues. The games will make or break a system for people. There isn't a lot of, quote, new experiences exclusive for the Switch 2, with a lot of upgrades and multi-platformers releasing coming later this year. The biggest title to come out at launch was Mario Kart World, which I was extremely excited to play. This was the first Mario Kart game that I've purchased since Mario Kart on the DS, and while it might not be a reason to buy the console alone, it is an incentivizing reason. The graphics look beautiful and the music sounds wonderful, which I would expect nothing less from a Mario title nowadays. Mario Kart World continues what works best for Mario Kart games, with its Grand Prix format and a large selection of Mario characters. A new addition includes the Knockout mode, which feels like a refreshing take on the Battle Royale format. Each lap, you need to ensure you're not in the last few places, otherwise your game ends there. Another new mode is the Open World option that lets you explore each interconnected track with many objectives and collectibles to explore and discover. The next big game I was excited to play was the Switch 2 version of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yes, this is a game that originally released on the Nintendo Wii U and the original Nintendo Switch. But I ran into issues with the previously mentioned stick drift, which made it difficult to play the game without a separate controller. The improved performance and consistent frame rate made this an absolute gem on the system. I haven't been able to stop playing this game for the life of me, and I'm so thankful I gave this game another chance. This is an open world action RPG with a focus on exploration and discovery. I love getting lost in the vast world, exploring new secrets and defeating different bosses, leading up to Calamity Ganon. The quality of this game is, well, breathtaking, and I'm hitting myself for not playing it fully before. Other games I've played here and there on the Switch 2 include Pokemon games, Balatro, and Slay the Spire. I treat my Switch more as a mobile console, so the games I like to play are lightweight. These are games I can undock my Switch and play while laying in bed late at night. This isn't to say that I couldn't get the same experience with different handheld consoles. Looking at multi-platformer games, the Switch 2 doesn't have the support to make it the best option for your buck. But as more games start to release for the Switch 2, and being made for the Switch 2, I can see that mindset shifting. For example, a game that I'm interested in getting on the Switch 2 is Sid Meier's Civilization 7, only because the Switch 2 Joy-Cons support mouse-like movement, which inherently makes it better than playing on a PlayStation 5. With that being said, I think games being made by Nintendo are the star of the show when it comes to the Switch 2. Donkey Kong, Pokemon, Metroid Prime, and Kirby Air Riders all look to be impressive releases coming soon. Online play is something that Nintendo hasn't really succeeded at since it became more commonplace. I say that for a few reasons. If you want to play games online, you need one subscription pass. If you want to play virtual consoles that now support online play, you need a different subscription pass. If you want to take advantage of exclusive functionality between certain games like Pokemon Bank, you need a completely different subscription pass. This has turned me away from the online play that the Switch and Switch 2 has, but I figured I should give it a shot for a small period of time before saying anything else negative about it. I was able to use a free 7-day trial for Nintendo Switch Online, which gave me the opportunity to try playing some of these games online and take a look at the Virtual Console catalog. Unfortunately, I did not want to upgrade to the full expansion pass for an annual charge, which would have given me access to additional virtual consoles such as the Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, and the brand new and exclusive to the Switch 2, GameCube. The experiences I had with Switch Online was limited for the most part, as I play a lot of games locally with friends rather than online. Since few of my friends have the Switch 2, I didn't really get to take advantage of the new chat feature or game share features. But it's nice to see Nintendo finally having this kind of support, which has been a baseline for other platforms on Xbox and PlayStation. Once I had the online pass, I could play Mario Kart World Online and compete against others from all over, providing some more enjoyment than I would have just against playing bots. Other games like Pokemon allow for competitive battles or online trading, which elevates past the need for locally being next to somebody for that local connectivity. Virtual consoles might be a selling point for a lot. Being the only option to play some of Nintendo's best titles from older consoles over the years is great. For myself, this was more of an incentive to keep Nintendo Switch Online than a selling point. There are a lot of titles available for the NES, SNES, Game Boy, but I found myself playing the games that I paid money for rather than the titles I have been given access with an online subscription. That being said, I think this is the best way to play these virtual titles for a cheap cost legally. Overall, I enjoyed my experience with the Nintendo Switch 2. While it doesn't do anything new compared to the original Switch or other consoles and handhelds, it has improved the existing experience Nintendo offers by a mile. The biggest critique I haven't mentioned yet is with the battery life. These games are running at 1080p in handheld mode, which for the most part sucks the battery life dry. While short bursts I had no issues, I could see this being a drawback later down the road. The benefits of being backwards compatible with everything owned for the original Switch is a huge plus, but everything brand new for the Switch 2 is increasingly expensive. Controllers, games, subscriptions, and accessories all pile up at the end of the day. The biggest reason I bought the Switch 2 was because I had the money to spare, but I can't see myself decking it out with every new accessory that comes out, like a proprietary camera or Pro controller just yet. At the end of the day, what matters most is the games being played. If you want something to play Nintendo games the best they can be played legally, the Switch 2 is the best option out there. But if you're unsure, I would avoid paying the $450 price tag just to play older titles. This console feels more like a Nintendo Switch than a futuristic handheld, but the 120Hz refresh rate and 4K support while docked are huge bonuses that have yet to fully be realized on the system. In my honest opinion, the Switch 2 isn't worth the price of admission, especially if you have an existing Nintendo Switch or handheld system available. At the same time, I am glad I picked one up. I've been having a blast playing the games I do have. I plan on trading my old Switch at some point so I can get another game or something new once it releases. I do think if you haven't gotten a Nintendo console in some time and are trying to get back into gaming for yourself or your kids, this is the perfect place to start given the large Nintendo Switch catalog. But that's all I have to say about the Nintendo Switch 2. It has some perks, it has some drawbacks, but I don't regret my decision to buy the system. Let me know what you think about the Nintendo Switch 2 in the comments below. Are there any games I should check out? Let me know below. And as always, thanks for watching.